games, and it's exciting to see that this is the time of year you need the Ducks to have dominant third periods when they're down or when the game's close, and it's the best time of year to get it done.
Dude, you can't say that any better than you just did, because they need to get it done. And these are the final 3 games coming up in the regular season. So there's a lot of work left to ensure and get that 100% clinched position at the playoffs. But getting to the overtime, unfortunate news to start. Not only were the Ducks out without John Gibson from the second period on, but we would be not seeing Cam Fowler to start the overtime. He took a hard hit in the corner towards the end of the third period, went straight to the Ducks bench and then the locker room. Looked like his left shoulder went awkwardly into the boards. Hopefully nothing major. We have no further update on him. Yeah. But getting started here in the overtime period, Getzlaf with a hell of a move and a fake, but Bernier comes up big. There has not been very many games where we haven't been able to say Getzlaf with a move and a big save on the other goalie, or he scores, or he makes an incredible pass to get a scoring chance. Getzlaf just doing it all over the ice again.
Yeah, this is like you copy and pasted these from the notes of the last game where he did the between the legs deke against the Kings and almost had a goal, and he makes another good move in this one. Probably not as nice, but still a hell of a move, like you said. And Bernier coming up big. It would have just, imagine how much better it would be. It's great to get the 2 points, but if Getzlaf had a cash in on both of those, and we could be talking about these like highlight reel goal of the season for Getzlaf in back-to-back games. That would just be nuts. Yeah, that would add to the excitement.
I would have paid big money for the one against LA just because I don't like LA that much, and I would love to see Getzlaf ended on that between the legs play. But the Ducks would still be able to finish this off with a 4-3 victory because Andre Kasha gets up on a 2-on-1 break with Josh Manson. Getzlaf, of course, involved in it as he has the bank pass up the half wall. Kasha with a little move around the D just on the backside of the defenseman is able to go up and over Bernier's blocker, short side. He had to almost play like it was going to be a pass, but Kasha goes goal, top cheese. It's 4-3, game over, baby.
Yeah. Kasha loved seeing that it was Samuel Girard that he was going against on this play. Victimizes the young defenseman with a great move, and then just goes upstairs. Andre Kasha has been doing it all season, and to get it done in overtime, the Ducks are making it exciting, that's for sure. It's nerve-wracking for all of us, but it's exciting hockey to get 2 overtime wins where they just struggled there all season, finally figuring things out. Because it's not like they looked bad in this overtime, too. I think they were the better team, other than a couple chances that McKinnon was able to create. The Ducks really controlled this OT, and they deserved the win. I don't know if you saw after the goal, too, Josh Manson absolutely destroys Mikko Rantanen into Jonathan
Bernier.
Yeah, just to add to the fact that Girard just got undressed and Kasha went upstairs. Rantanen just gets absolutely leveled into Jonathan Bernier too.
I'm sure the Ducks didn't mind doing that. Josh Manson is never a guy to shy away from making a hit or causing problems. So Ducks put a cap on that one. 4-3, the victory, 4 points against 2 opponents they just really needed to beat in this playoff race these past 2 games. Have 2 games left at home, and then they're going to be looking at a game on the road next Saturday in Arizona. This is playoff hockey right now for Anaheim. If there's any time to get this thing moving and feel like they need to get going and cruising for the playoffs, this is the time to do it. What a past 2 games, Eddie. I'm pumped. I'm going to be at the next 2 games as well, so hopefully these are just as exciting. Maybe a little more of a blowout scenario on the Ducks side, though. Maybe they don't have to give us a heart attack for overtime. But what a win, nonetheless. Let's go ahead and get to our post game. Where do you want to start, my friend? We got a few things here.
Yeah, let's start. Sorry, I'm reading the notes at the same time. Let's start off with Terry being left out of the lineup. I feel like that's something we kind of expected. The Ducks had a strong game against the Kings, and we kind of expected that Carlisle would just go with the same lineup, which he obviously did. I don't know. How do you feel? Because I would have loved to see him in the lineup. It's tough to criticize with back-to-back exciting wins in overtime, but I still feel like he would have added something to this team.
Yeah, and why not give him a look? As we've said the past couple of games, if you're going to burn the first year of his entry level, why not let him play those games? That's, I guess, the biggest issue in my mind, is if you're going to do that, let him play the damn games. I know they said that he was injured, nursing an injury, and that's why he didn't play against LA. Did you see any other status updates from the Ducks or from Eric Stevens, about Troy Terry, why he was left out, or is he just a healthy scratch?
No, Eric Stevens gets it out the next day too, which was great because we all thought he was just a healthy scratch against the Kings, and it was more of a leader good thing. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot he was nursing an injury for last game," which I don't know where he got injured. Maybe it was a hit from Biega in the Vancouver game. I don't know. But yeah, I haven't seen any updates. I feel like it's probably just a healthy scratch thing. Maybe it's a small nagging injury, but I really don't know. I would like to see him down the stretch, but the points are just so important for the Ducks right now. And, I think he honestly adds something to this team, but I feel like it's easy to go with the hot lineup right now and just play them for the rest of the season. There's only 3 games left. But it really, if we look back and Troy Terry played 1 game and burned a year off his ELC for that 1 game, I don't see the point.
No, I agree. Then why not send him down to the AHL like we're talking about?
Yeah.
That's what we said, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chase says to just get him some pro hockey experience if you're not going to play him. Just send him down. What's the point of having him up here to not play unless he actually is nursing a nagging injury and he'll be back for the next game? But we'll have to see. I mean, it really all comes down to the lineup that's going to be put out for that next game. If they come out and say he's healthy and he's still a healthy scratch for that game, I don't see the point. I mean, you might as well send him down.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, man. I mean, where would you have slotted him in, though? Would you put him right in Richie's spot again and put Richie down on the 4th line?
Yeah, it's tough because you look at how successful that line was last game against LA and into this game as well. Richie's actually looked like a better player in those 2 games. I still think you'd probably put him on that line. I'd probably take Chimera out of the lineup, probably roll with Richie, Grant, and JT Brown. And then you just go with Terry, Henrique, and Cash, and you keep the top 2 lines together. I feel like that's the ideal lineup for the Ducks. Nothing against Jason Chimera. I just don't see the value that he could add over a guy like Troy Terry, especially even playing Troy Terry only 12 minutes a night. I think is better than having Jason Chimera in there for 8 to 10 minutes. So I don't know. Carlisle loves and Bob Murray to some extent too loves their veteran leader guys, but I don't see the point of not having him in the lineup unless he is, like everybody has pointed out here in the chat, nursing a nagging injury.
I don't think you understand how fast Jason Chimera is, Eddie. I feel like you didn't listen to Bob Murray when he brought he and Kelly on board about the speed they're going to bring to the lineup. I mean, I don't know why you would see that Troy Terry, his skill and speed combined would be better than Jason Chimera. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Well, too bad he wasn't at the All-Star game, so we could clocked against Connor McDavid, and we could have really seen his speed shine against one of the fastest players in the NHL. Or maybe the Ducks just need to host the All-Star game. Sign him for a contract specifically just to have him go and have your own in-team All-Star game set up and see who's the fastest skater. Just bring him back for that. He doesn't even need to play. He can sit in the press box, enjoy some popcorn, watch the game, and just wait until the Ducks have their fastest skater competition.
I'm on board with that. If we're gonna bring Chimera back, we need to do that. Absolutely. Yeah. But so there's Troy Terry. Unfortunately, did not play again tonight for the 2nd straight game. Let's talk a little bit about Gibby and Fowler, because those are the big burning questions going into Wednesday night's game against Minnesota. The Ducks were without John Gibson for the 2nd period, 3rd period, and all of overtime. Ryan Miller stepped in. Is this deeply concerning to you, or by the looks of the play, Eddie, do you feel like it was something more of a, hey, we're going to take him out on precaution. We know he has a history of injury. We're gonna pat him up and baby him a bit and rest him until Wednesday, or do you think like this is severe, just based on what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look like it, but we've seen Gibby leave on things that didn't look that severe. I mean, the one that comes to my mind the most is the Riley Smith play where he clipped him from behind and he fell down, ended up leaving the game. This one I don't know. The only thing I could think of is maybe he was left out for concussion protocol because Landeskog does kind of hit him in the head, kind of get him a little bit of a cross-check shot to the head, so maybe that's why he's left out. Otherwise, I don't know why you would leave him out, for precautionary reason in a game that means so much, unless you are worried or it could be something he could aggravate more by playing. Then I get it, but it's such a tough situation to take your number one goalie out of a close game, a game that means so much to the playoff standings. The only thing I can think of is it was just precautionary reasons, maybe concussion protocol, something around that. That, unfortunately, that's what you would hope for. You obviously don't want him to have a concussion, but you hope he was left out for precautionary reasons and not for an actual injury.
I think if it was for concussion protocol, we would have heard from RC on that. Don't you think Carlisle would have mentioned that was the reason? That's what's concerning to me, is if it was the league saying that they would have to be expressed and they were going to hold him out. But I hope not. That's a huge blow. I mean, just the kind of season he's having, and we've been talking about him nonstop for the past 2 months about how much he is needed on this team for this team to win going into these final few games and then into the playoffs. The Ducks really need to find a way to win without him if that's the case. And that's a lot to ask of Ryan Miller. That's not why he was brought on this team. I guess to kind of finish up the goaltending question here, how do you feel about Ryan Miller leading this team the rest of the way into the playoffs and beyond if this is a serious injury for John Gibson?
He has the experience, of course, of just being a veteran goaltender and going to the playoffs before and going far in the playoffs. But at this point in his career, I'm just... And just the way John Gibson has been playing, too. And we've gone into the playoffs before with Freddie and Gibby, and they've both been playing, pretty good. And you say, oh, well, if one guy plays bad, then at least this other guy can come in, and they're at the same skill level, and it doesn't matter. I think with the way Gibby's playing this year, I just wouldn't be comfortable going in with Ryan Miller, knowing what else you could have between the pipes and a healthy John Gibson. It would be so tough. I don't think the Ducks could go that far having Ryan Miller starting on a regular basis. He hasn't done that during the regular season. It's a tough situation to throw a guy into and just say, hey, you're going to start the rest of these 3 games. You're gonna lead us into the playoffs until this guy's ready to go. And I don't know. I mean, he's got the experience to do that. It's just such a tough decision at this point and such a tough role to play for a guy who hasn't played a lot this year.
I mean, that would be very reminiscent of last year with the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? I mean, riding Fleury all the way into the conference final, and then they're like, no, Matt Murray's back. You're going to have to take a back seat. That's just the way it's going to go. I mean, that's the way we would hope it would pan out. The Ducks end up winning a cup like that. If it's going to be long-term for John Gibson. I just hope it's not his head. I just hope it's precautionary. Hopefully we'll find out more tomorrow. But moving back over to on the defensive side of things, Cam Fowler injured on his last shift of the third period on a hit in the corner. That had separated shoulder written all over it for me. Just the way his shoulder was bent going into the boards. I hope it's not. That's painful, and that's not something he's going to come back from right away. He's going to have to miss a little bit of time if that's the case. So how are your feelings on how this defensive core stacks up? I mean, you got Superman Punch Bieksa out with a hand surgery, but I mean, obviously he will be coming back soon if the Ducks are in the playoffs, it feels like. Do you bring up another youngster? Do you unscratch Welinski? I mean, what's the answer here?
Yeah, it kind of, in my opinion, paves the way for Jakob Larsson, although I don't think they do it because he hasn't played 1 minute for the Ducks this year, and that's a tough situation to throw a guy into and just say, hey, you haven't played 1 second in the NHL this year, you're going to come up and you're going to play in the playoffs for us until Cam Fowler gets back. So that would be my ideal call-up. I feel like he's the most skilled and probably the best defenseman the Ducks have in San Diego at this point. If Fowler was out for a considerable amount of time, he's the guy I'd want to call up. Unfortunately, I think it's something where they either unscratch Holzer, Welinski, or call up Magna if they want the left shot guy and just throw them in. And they probably promote Pettersson up to that pairing with Brandon Montour, maybe even just throwing Boschman up to that pairing with Montour and throwing Pettersson with a guy like Welinski. I know,
don't
but
say that.
I could see it happening. Of course, we hope he's not out and that he can come up and play. They have a couple games here where they're now sitting in obviously a lot better position than they would be if they lost this game. Not saying you want to keep him out of the lineup. You obviously want to play. The Ducks aren't in by any means, but their chances went up a lot with this win. So maybe you rest him just to be sure for this next game and hope he can go for either the game against Dallas or the last game of the season against Arizona. But you don't know. I mean, the key thing is to have him 100% healthy for the playoffs because you don't want to have to go in against a series with San Jose or Vegas or Nashville with a Boschman-Montour pairing as your number 2.
No, because he's been playing just great hockey right now. Fowler and Montour have been the pairing we've been waiting forever to see, and it's finally come together for the Ducks, and they've been able to solidify that top 4. And now the Lindholm and Manson line is finally starting to play much better after a little slump. To is just something I don't think anyone wanted to see, but I just cringed when I saw the hit, and then when they mentioned on the broadcast, went to the locker room, I was like, oh, dude, that's not good. That's not something we need to see.